Hey guys, and welcome back to Hoosier Hardware. Today we're taking a look at this old GPU. This is the R9 Nano from AMD, and this thing launched back in the latter half of 2019, so it's a little bit more than right now 4 years old, and as such, we're going to put it through its paces with a few modern games, swapping out Anno 1800 for the Outer Worlds, but we're going to see how it performs in 2019 with some more contemporary games, and talk a little bit about where this fits into the used market right now, and availability and that sort of thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. So if you're sort of casual about PC gaming, or maybe just don't really have your enthusiasm for it going back very far, the R9 Nano is a card that you may very well have been able to miss. This thing launched back in August of 2015 for $650, which was an extremely premium price point for AMD to be putting this card, especially considering it only features 4 gigabytes of VRAM. Now it does feature HBM VRAM, so we're actually seeing the memory right there with the GPU die itself, which is why this card is able to be so small and actually packs quite a punch. It still performs right up there with a GTX 980, which is a solid card, especially for 1080p gaming in 2019. So we would expect the R9 Nano then to actually still be a solid card even in 2019 for 1080p gaming, though 1440p in modern titles is probably going to be pushing this card a little bit too hard, at least in most cases, and we're going to see that sort of come out in the benchmarks as well. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about the used market with this card right now, because it is a very niche card. In fact, it's hard to put a price on one of these because the prices are all over the place. If you check out places like eBay, you'll find them posted for like $350, $300, $200. Every once in a while, though, you'll find some of these posted for about $100 to $110, $120. And if you find them in that price range, they might actually be worth picking up, which is exactly what happened for me. I saw somebody that was actually selling several of these for $110 plus like $15 in shipping. So it was low enough of a price that I thought, yeah, I'll go ahead and pick it up and try it out. I don't really have any intention of selling it right now, especially because of how niche this card is, but I definitely wanted to take a look at it. Now for our testing today, this is at 1080p because I really do think that's about the resolution this card is targeting, at least if you're still using it in 2019 on newer games. We do have a Ryzen 1800X here, as well as 16 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, and I'll put the exact specs that they're running at right now for these tests on the screen now. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into those benchmarks and see just how well this thing still performs over 4 years after its launch. The Resident Evil 2 Remake performed quite well with the R9 Nano here, seeing an average frame rate of 106, a 1% low of 80, and a 0.1% low at 48, and that was all on the normal preset here, so no complaints whatsoever. I didn't really see any kind of stuttering to speak of whatsoever, so this title at least is quite playable and actually really solid. Metro Exodus also performed really well with the R9 Nano here, seeing an average frame rate, and this is without tessellation at high settings, but an average frame rate of 102 and a 1% low just barely below that 60 mark at 59, and then that 0.1% low sitting there at 51. But again, I didn't see any sort of stutter or anything like that with this particular setup, so once again the R9 Nano definitely gets a pass with this game at 1080p. Now this time I replaced Anno 1800 with the Outer Worlds, mostly because Anno 1800 is a little bit older than the Outer Worlds, but also just generally is a little bit tougher to benchmark because of how much the frame rate varies based on your zoom level, as well as population density, that sort of thing. So with the Outer Worlds, we actually see some of the same types of benchmarking problems that we have with Anno 1800. Inside of buildings, the frame rate is significantly higher than outside, and in fact, I'm not sure if I had a little bit of a glitch going on. VSync was off in this title, except that I was still seeing a cap of 60 FPS, and when I was inside buildings, that cap was pretty much pinned at 60 the whole time. Now, when I went outside, the frame rate was definitely lower, and this game definitely demands a little bit more when you're in those exterior parts of the world. Overall, though, we saw an average frame rate here of 52, a 1% low of 36, and a 0.1% low of 23 at 1080p on the very high preset. It was a very smooth experience, especially when I was inside of the building, but I think that was more of a glitch situation, whereas outside I wasn't quite able to hit that 60 FPS, though I do have a lot of room here to drop down settings, maybe to the high preset, if I'm really chasing that 60 mark when I'm in exterior areas of the world. So this card is actually sort of interesting to take a look at because of how small it is, and surprisingly, it actually runs fairly quiet and doesn't get overly hot either, even under full load, which makes this thing ideal for small form factor PCs. All that being said though, even if you are just looking at a regular PC and you come across one of these priced in a competitive way, maybe that $110, $120, even $130, somewhere in that range, this is not a bad used card to put into a PC, whether it's a full-size PC or something like a mini ITX system, because it actually does still perform quite well in the titles that I tested out, at least in 2019 at 1080p resolution, and older titles it can definitely run at 1440p, or just titles that maybe aren't as graphically demanding. This card still is a little bit of a beast. Now, availability is definitely an issue because even on eBay, you don't really see them all that often, especially priced in a competitive way. So if you're just looking to build a used PC and you're just trying to sort of look through eBay, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, those different places that you can find used parts, it's somewhat unlikely you're going to come across one of these at a really competitive price, especially if you're just looking in the used local market. It's quite unlikely that you're going to find one of these just floating around on Facebook Marketplace. Definitely possible, though unlikely. So in the immediate future, this card is probably not going anywhere. I kind of like having it around, and I'll probably put it on a shelf or maybe on the pegboard behind me. Maybe replace that GTX 660 back there. By the way, that 660 is actually the first graphics card I ever owned and was my main graphics card for a while before I replaced it with a 970. So maybe the R9 Nano gets put up there alongside it, or maybe replaces it for a little while as the display, but it's not going anywhere. I actually don't have any plans on putting it into a used system unless I get one that sort of just comes along that is really a great fit for the R9 Nano, because I also don't know that I can ever replace it once it's out the door, because it's unlikely to find one at a really good price like I did this one, and they're becoming less and less common even on the used market. So this has been an overview of the R9 Nano. If you still have one of these, it is still a great card, and for that matter, the R9 Fury and Fury X cards were also solid cards, even for their generation, maybe a little light on the VRAM for premium priced cards like that, but in the modern day, they still hold their own in 1080p gaming. But of course, I do want to hear from you guys all about, especially if you have one of these cards or one of these Fury cards from this family in general, are you still rocking it in 2019? And if so, how's it doing? And if you upgraded, what did you upgrade to? And was it out of necessity or just because you wanted more frames per second? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And also, as always, we can't get out of here without saying give this video a like if you like it, share, subscribe, comment, all those things help out the channel a lot. You can follow me both on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.